Yes, ma'am. Ms. Baker. Mr. Cox. Here. Mr. Dominic. Mr. Epperson.
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Escudade.
Here.
Mr. Jenkins.
Present.
Mr. Lynn.
Really?
Ms. Lynch.
Here.
Mr. McCulloch.
Here.
Mr. Pearson. Present. Smith.
Here.
And Mr. Thibodeau.
Here.
That's 4, Madam President.
Okay. Let us please stand for the invocation by Mr. Randy Lucky and the Pledge of Allegiance by Brianna Lynch.
Bow your heads. Dear Lord, thank you for this meeting today. Thank you for the people that are here. Watch over us, guide and direct us. Help us to make wise decisions for the parish. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Let's say the pledge in unison.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. That's my niece, Brianna Lynch, who's visiting me for a couple of weeks.
Hey, Carol, can you hear me?
A motion. Are there any agenda additions? I have nothing from the commissioners. Okay. A motion to adopt those minutes.
So moved. Second.
Was moved and seconded. Any discussion? Please vote.
She's abandoned her post.
Okay. Mr. Spears?
Have none, ma'am.
Communication reports, Ms. Wilson?
Yes, ma'am. Good afternoon, Commissioners.
Good afternoon.
I did place at each of your station a copy of the presentation that we delivered to Standard & Poor's. I think it has a lot of useful information about the finances of the parish that you may find useful. If you have any questions at all whatsoever, please let us know. We'd be glad to go over the information with you. And at this one, I know we had a lot of discussion in the past several meetings about adjudicated property. We have developed a brochure, and we'll get this made in color and give you all copies of it for when you go to your forms you can have to pass out. And if there's any additional information on adjudicated property, if you'd like me to deliver that, I'll be glad to do so also. But we're available. We'll make this available to everybody. And we also have additional information just for desire. And that concludes my report.
Mr. Smith?
Oh, I'm
Mr.
sorry.
Smith?
One other thing, ma'am. I'm sorry.
Okay.
We also have the 2008 annual audit report for you today as well. We'll make sure you get a copy of that at your desk.
Bedtime stories?
Yes. If there's any questions about the report, please let us know. We'll be glad to answer those questions for you also. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Commissioner Smith?
But you know, the Natural Resources Group met yesterday afternoon after our meeting on the proposed amendments. The group came up with some recommended changes on the amendments, which Mr. Grubbs and Mr. Earl will be working on. Our next meeting will be August the 3rd after the work session meeting that day. Our hope is to have the proposed changes that the group recommended yesterday for you to look at before that time. If so, I will get that to the committee members and the entire commission. Our hope is still to have this available for the commission to approve in the month of August. Thank you for your help.
Thank you. My screen is not where I can see the name, so are there any other commissioners? Okay, Commissioner Pearson.
Yes, yesterday I made mention of the fact that I had heard Ms. Spike give a presentation on adjudicated property, and while I'm sure we've received information before, it was a little rusty to me, and I thought perhaps it would benefit the entire commission if we would have that presentation given to us again, and especially on a day when the television audience could view the presentation and perhaps get an idea of what they need to do to apply for and be granted adjudicated property. So hop along Jimmy Whittington has agreed has agreed to come and make that presentation for us, and I'm sure that we'll be enlightened by it. Jimmy?
Ready?
Yes, sir. Take your time and hurry up.
I like your thinking, Carl.
Oh, gosh. Thank you, Commissioner Pearson. We'll be brief. Unfortunately, I wasn't there. I was very new to my injury when Miss Spikes gave that presentation, and I wasn't there. But what I thought I would do just today, just very briefly, if it's okay with y'all, is just tell y'all the major differences between the old way and the new way. Is that okay?
Amen.
Okay. I guess in everybody's mind, the biggest difference is the sales price. As you may remember, I know Commissioner Pearson was here, and Ms. McCullough was here. When we first started doing our adjudicated property, we set an arbitrary minimum bid of 15% of the appraised value. Well, the new law, Act 819, did away with that. Okay, that is no longer a viable option, 15%. Under the new law, there are two ways you can purchase adjudicated property. Number one, you can offer to purchase it for 100% of the back taxes, penalties, and interest. Okay. We've had some people that have chosen to do that. More often than not, they choose not to because the taxes are more than the property's worth.
You say with interest?
Ma'am?
With interest?
Everything. Interest, penalties, taxes, and everything that's operating against it. Or they can elect to have it appraised. If they elect to have it appraised, we collect the money. The new law says that the parish has to appoint the appraiser. And we have a list of appraisers who do these for us, and we appoint them on a rotating basis. Once we get the appraisal in, then we can advertise for a public sale at 2/3 of the appraised value. That's the first public sale. If somebody comes to that public sale and is willing to offer us at least 2/3, then we can sell it. Of course, you know, if we have more than one bidder, it can go way above the appraised value. It just depends on the piece of property. However, if we do not get an offer for 2/3, we can then re-advertise the public sale for 1/3 of the appraised value. That's as low as we can go, ever, period, is 1/3 of the appraised value. That's as low as we can go. That's all that the state law will allow us to do. And we're doing okay with that. We haven't had too many people grumble about that, really. I mean, a lot of people were aware of our 15% that we had for years, and they know that that's no longer an option, but that's just the way it is. The other big change that the new law did for us, or I'll say for us, and how it affects us, is in the past, you may recall somebody would apply. The first thing we did was tell them they needed to get a title report. And they would go and spend, we had a group of people that provided those to them at $125. They would bring us the title report. Then internally, we would review it, determine who had an interest operating against that property, whether it's a lien holder, judgment holder, whomever, and we would notify those people by certified mail. The new law puts that burden on what they call the acquiring party. So after we have the sale, and I've got Mr. Thomas and Mr. Johnson in the room, and they bid against each other, and Mr. Thomas is the high bidder, we supply Mr. Thomas with a packet and inform him that before we can sign the deed, he's going to have to attempt to give notice to anybody that has an interest in that property. Now, we strongly encourage them to go to a title company for assistance or to go to a lawyer for assistance, but they don't have to. They can do this on their own. It took out certified mailings. They don't have to send certified letters if they can use regular mail. But we give them an example of the notice, the advertisement to be run in the newspaper, and we also give them a copy and an example of an affidavit. The new law provides for a form of affidavit that the acquiring person can fill out, describing how they determined who to give notice to, whether they engaged a title company or bought a title opinion, whatever, how they determined who to give notice to. And then they detail in the affidavit how they gave notice. I mailed a letter on this date. I ran an ad in the paper on this date. Does all that. And then they can go and file that affidavit at the clerk of court's office, and it acts as a cancellation of everything that they gave notice to. In other words, the intent, when we sell this, people are still getting a tax title, and they have to go spend a couple of $3,000 if they want to clean up the title doing a munition suit. This takes away the need for that and provides that they can do this form of affidavit and file it in the clerk's office, and that will act as cancellation. It takes away the need for the munition action. So that's a good thing. But the acquiring person, that responsibility is now theirs. Now, depending on how long the property is adjudicated, if the we can't sell it until it's been adjudicated 3 years. If it's been adjudicated more than 3 years and less than 5 years, there is a 6-month notification period. In other words, when these people get notice, we can't proceed for 6 months. They've got 6 months basically to go gather up the money and redeem the property. If the property has been adjudicated over 5 years, they've got 60 days to come in. And the intent there is if people only owe a small amount, they're more likely to come in and redeem than if it's a big, huge amount. But then basically those are the biggest changes, and then they come back into our office. We make them sign an affidavit in our office. They don't have to prove anything to us. But we make them sign an affidavit in our office saying that they have complied with the notification requirements of Act 819. We make them sign it. We just stick it in the file so we have it. It's not a requirement by any means. But we make them sign that, and at that point, we are in a position to prepare the deed and go ahead and sell the property. So those are the biggest changes. I hope I've addressed some of that for you, Commissioner Pearson. If I didn't, I can certainly go into more detail, but those are the biggest changes. It's a little bit more difficult now on the buyer. It has relieved Ms. Spikes and myself and Ms. Jones from some work, but it's a little bit more of a burden on the acquiring person, as they call it. But it's not something that we don't help them get through. I mean, it's something that we can certainly work with them on and to get it through there. And hopefully it's gonna make it to where we can move more and more and more and more of this property. I don't know if y'all had been informed, but back in June, the sheriff had the annual tax sale this year, and I think they took about 4,500 pieces of property to tax sale, 4,500 parcels to their 3-day tax sale, and they ended up adjudicating over 1,500 of them. Over a third were not bought and now go into the inventory of adjudicated property. So don't think adjudicated property is going away anytime soon. We are seeing quite a few redemptions due to the Haynesville shale, quite frankly. We're waiting this week to get a $338,000 check-in on a piece of property due to the Haynesville shale. But those are the biggest changes. I hope that addresses some of what y'all may have. As always, I'm available if you've got a constituent or a group that would like us to come address. We'll be more than happy to do that. We do it all the time. We'll answer any questions you may have.
I have a dog that you can walk.
By the way, I do have a dog for sale. Or to give away. I had invited Malcolm Statlander just to be here in case y'all had any questions for him. I guess I can kind of speak and advise y'all that the new law, which I've been talking about, inadvertently did away with the city's $1 program. You remember that? That wasn't Representative Burrell's intent to do away with that program. There is a new act. I don't know the number. I have a copy of it on my desk, but it has been signed by the governor that reinstitutes their ability to do that. I don't think they're up and running doing that yet, but they do have the ability, so we'll be keeping you informed on that as well.
And Malcolm is with...
He's with
city?
property management with the city of Shreveport.
And that's a city program. Do we do anything in regards to that?
We sign the deeds,
Okay.
and that's it.
So the dissemination of information on the dollar program would be the city's responsibility?
That's a city program, and all we do is sign the deeds when they're ready for our signature.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Cox?
I think Mr. Pearson had another question for...
You got a question?
Well, I didn't want to be out of line. I think, I had a question, but Ms. Baker punched her button before me, so I don't know.
Yeah, I know
Cox's name was first,
Okay.
and then Baker.
I was going to yield in case you had another question for the man. You know, he's hop on Cassidy. He needs to...
Oh, you don't have a question for him?
No, I don't have a question for him.
Oh, okay.
I'll
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, well, you want to go and ask yours?
I got 7.
You have 7?
Come on. We got the people here to answer them, Miss Baker. We're ready.
Go ahead.
Well, back to the part where you said you would do the advertisement for the 2/3 and the 1/3.
Right.
So that's inclusive with someone filling out an application for a certain piece, or
Right.
does it matter, or does it not
I mean,
matter?
they tell us when they submit the application, they say we either want to do it based on the total taxes, or we want to do it based on the appraised value.
So that paperwork you gave me, if I filled out for a certain piece of property,
There's a section on there where you'll check saying, I wish to purchase the property based on either the total taxes, there's a box there to be checked, or based on the appraised value.
okay, and then if I say the appraised value, then you're going to do the advertising still.
Oh yeah, we have to do that.
Be it. Okay.
We're going to order the appraisal, and when we get the appraisal in, we'll contact you and set up the actual sale date, because when we advertise the sale in the ad, we've got to put the date, the location, the time, the minimum bid, and everything in that ad, and we let the customer pretty much pick that date.
Okay. The part after the sale where you're talking about the deed and the affidavit and all that,
Mhm.
is that an added expense? Is that a plus to that $200 you pay on the front side?
No, we don't charge that.
Okay.
Now, I'm not saying, we've got some customers that as soon as they acquire a piece of property, they take all their info to a title company and say, do all this for me.
Okay.
And that title company is charging that person. But we don't.
Has the process gotten longer or shorter?
It's gotten shorter.
Oh, okay, good.
It's gotten shorter.
And the last thing that you have, Malcolm, here is, so when you have a piece of property that's city and parish combined, we go to the same process of parish, or the city have the same process, or?
Unless they're trying to acquire it under the dollar program, which, remember, under the dollar program, you have to own the property next door. You have to touch that property. If they're trying it through the dollar program, Malcolm's office processes the sale. If it's any other piece of property, if it's adjudicated to both the city and the parish, under the terms of our intergovernmental agreement, we process the sale.
Parish does?
The parish does.
Okay.
And we keep 1/3 of the purchase price
Okay.
for our efforts.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay.
I finished with that.
Yeah, it was fast enough, I guess. I didn't hear you say anything about donations. Evidently, this did away pretty much with donations.
As far as donations, our concern, Commissioner Pearson, the new statute did take out the mechanism for donations that was in the statute. Commissioner Epperson had asked previously about donations pursuant to the Constitution. However, that specifies that it has to be housing property donated specifically for renovation. So as of right now, that would be the only donations that we could make, and I don't think that there is a specific mechanism or policy that the parish has in place for that. I believe Mr. Whittington has been advised that it may not be the best idea because it would be in the nature of a cooperative endeavor agreement as opposed to the deeds that we used to be able to do. However, if you all are interested in attempting to start something like that, I do not know if you have any nonprofits in the area that are interested in undertaking that kind of responsibility. We would have to come up with some policies and guidelines to put in place for that. But the old donation mechanisms that were in the statute have been done away with.
Okay, that's really my concern, because I know this works a lot better for commercial buildings and that kind of thing. But when we're talking about blighted community, which is really where I am, and we're talking about
and where most of the adjudicated property is.
Right, and we're talking about trying to help people clean up blighted community by simplifying the process of either purchasing or nonprofits that are donating. Now, we've donated to churches all over this parish, all over Shreveport, in regards to them picking up a piece of adjudicated property either for parking or for some other reason. Now it makes it difficult, it would seem to me, for them to acquire this property under the donation aspect, so that they could help. I mean, smaller churches, smaller nonprofits may want to acquire a piece of property to extend their property or whatever that situation may be. And I'm just concerned that we want clean up. We want the neighborhood cleaned up. And I think one of the real good points for adjudicated property was it provided people an opportunity to, first of all, put a piece of property back on the tax roll. But where blighted communities were concerned, it did provide an opportunity to clean up some of those unsightly areas. And I don't want, now did Representative Burrell, is this his bill?
His bill from last year, from 2008, is the one that made the change to the donation.
Well, I'm just concerned, and perhaps it will come back. They will, make some adjustments to that. But I'm just concerned as to make it difficult, and maybe the reinstitution of the $1 deal may make it better for people who live adjacent to a piece of blighted property to keep it up for 1 year, and then after 1 year, then they can file for that piece of property. But
if I might, while you're talking about the upkeep on the adjoining property, Commissioner, one important thing that the new bill that Representative Burrell did that has just been signed by the governor, one big change that it made, it doesn't have to be a vacant lot. You remember, if people, it could be a vacant lot next to property that they own, which they have been maintaining it for a year. It took out the vacant lot.
It could be a home building on it.
It could be a building on it. And all they have to do is get 3 affidavits saying they've been maintaining it for a year, and it would qualify. So it took out the vacant lot.
Okay. Well, hopefully that would be in, that would take care of some of that. But we'll be watching it, real close. I know I will. See, and be in touch with you as well to see if it's sped up or would speed up the process of moving some of these pieces of property from blighted area. Now,
we need all the help we can get.
Let me ask you one question, and I'll be pretty much through.
Okay.
Most of the responsibility, I know beforehand, you would put a sign on it. You have to put a sign on the piece of property as soon as a person puts their bid. puts the application for it. Now, I didn't hear you say anything about signage.
We hadn't been doing that.
Okay, so you don't have to put a sign on it. Then,
Well, and one reason for not doing that is, under the old law, it had language in it that said for us to be able to sell it, the property had to be abandoned, blighted, something else, or otherwise not legally occupied. Okay? The new law took out all that. Basically, it says if it's adjudicated, you can sell it. You got to give proper notice, but you can sell it. So we thought it'd be in the best interest of, because some of these properties may have people living in them or something like that, and just out of a courtesy not to put the signs out.
now, the other information in regards to having to check with the persons on the deed occurs after the property is sold.
After it goes to bid, but prior to us doing an actual deed.
Yeah, but I mean after a person acquires the rights to the property.
They acquire the right.
Once they acquire, either they pay the 2/3, or they bid on the 1/3 and above, or whatever. Once they acquire the right to the property, then it's up to them at that time to go to find out who is on the property, if they're lien holders on it, whoever it is, and notify them that they have acquired the rights to that property.
That's correct.
And it's up to them to decide at that time whether or not they want to redeem it or what they want to do with all of the expenses that that person has gone through.
That's absolutely correct.
And then once that happens, then if it's 3 years, if it's under 3 years, well, you can get a tax. You only get a tax title under 3 years.
No, we can't sell it until...
over 3 years to 5 years, you only get a tax title.
You get a tax title either way.
Okay.
Either way.
After 5 years, I heard you say that you can, once you fill out the affidavit, you have notified everybody that had some rights to that property before it became had some rights to that property.
Yes.
Then you fill out something that you can take to the clerk's office that says now you can get a actual deed to that property.
You can get a clean. That's
you get a clean deed to the property. What I'd have.
It cleans up everything that's of record in the mortgage records at the clerk's office.
So that's 5 years and over.
No, that can be 3 years.
3 to 5 years.
3 to
3 years and up.
3 years and up.
Okay.
But it's important to understand that affidavit that I'm talking about that will act as that cancellation, it's in no way required by the buyer. I mean, they don't have to do that.
Right.
But it's an option that's available to them, and that's what we inform them of.
Yeah, well, it's best for them if they want to build something on a piece of property because they can't borrow any money off of property that...
And also we give out one more piece of paper when we do this, and we do know of 3 or 4 title companies and title attorneys here in town that are doing the turnkey operations, and we'll provide that to the people and tell them, you may want to contact these people because they'll do it all for you. Make sure it's done right, and then you'll be done.
Thank you, Jimmy.
Yes, sir.
That's good for me.
Anything else?
Thank you. I had a question for Malcolm.
Malcolm?
Listen, when are you all going to send the information back out? Do you all have something that we can distribute in our districts about the $1 program?
We do not yet.
Okay.
No, ma'am. I'm waiting for the administration to advise me on that.
Okay.
But as soon as they do, I'll get with Jimmy and tell him what we're planning on doing, okay?
Thank you.
Okay, sure.
That didn't keep you up too long, did you?
No, sir. I'm good. Thank you.
Thank you all. Commissioner McCulloch?
Actually, I wanted to give you all an update or report on Project Clean Slate regarding the resolution that was passed May of 2009. Since we passed that resolution, we have held 2 meetings, one of which initially was held with the representative of a community formula that was named, and also the second meeting was held just this past week with the actual heads of the agencies within the community formula. And those people were the DA's office, the chief of police, the manager of support enforcement, sheriff's department, the city and juvenile courts, chief judge, city marshal's office. Sheriff Frater also attended, and juvenile courts. As a result of that meeting this week with the head agencies, they requested to have a summary of successes with the initial program that was started in Portland, Oregon. And also they are requesting, Sheriff Steve Frater is also requesting to actually collaborate and converse with the sheriff in Portland, Oregon. The community agency heads also would like for Jay Roy to come before us with a presentation. And I spoke with Mr. Wilson briefly this morning. We have scheduled Jay Roy to actually come before this body, the City Council, and the requested agencies to make a presentation of Project Clean Slate. And of course, to define Project Clean Slate, what it's actually going to do is address minor offenders. We're going to be giving them a one-shot chance at sweeping the plate clean. It's only a one-shot chance. So as of this week, we have scheduled myself and Mr. Lester Smith with Men for Change. We have actually scheduled Jay Roy with a presentation August 28th here in this chamber. We have not clearly scheduled the time that he would actually make the presentation, but he has actually agreed to come before this body and other governmental agencies on August 28th, and he will be arriving here in Shreveport on August 27th. Mr. Lester Smith and myself also was invited by Councilman Joyce Bowman to attend a forum this week to give an update or a briefing on Project Clean Slate. We were able to share in that forum. It was very successful. They're also asking us to return again on Thursday to give another update. And I guess what we will really be sharing with them is that Jay Roy will be presenting here again in Caddo Parish August 28th. But out of the two meetings that we've had with representatives of these agencies as well as the head of these agencies this past week, we have had a very good positive response. Our sheriff, for some reason, as I said before, he really would like to communicate and collaborate with the sheriff in Portland, Oregon. So I just wanted to kind of give you all an update on Project Clean Slate. And hopefully August 28th, all of you present will be able to participate in Jay Roy's presentation of Project Clean Slate. And again, it's going to be addressing minor offenders with misdemeanors such as traffic violations, child support, and other misdemeanors. Before they actually wanted to agree to doing any form of audit or making any modifications, the final request was to bring Jay Roy to Caddo Parish. And so again, he's scheduled to be here August 28th, and I would like for each one of you to be present for his presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner McCullough.
Oh, one more thing. It was my understanding, I came through yesterday several times. I thought maybe you all were going to be in and out, but it seems like you all were here a long period of time after 5:30 yesterday. But I had Mr. Myers with Pine Hill Waterworks contacted me. He expressed that Mr. Dominic gave him a call day before yesterday in regards to the situation with Pine Hill Waterworks and the actual rates. So what I did, I went ahead and I requested, based on Mr. Myers' request, that I submit to this body a copy of Pine Hill Waterworks rates, Blanchard's rates, and Greenwood's rates. And after you have actually studied and reviewed the rates of these three, then you might want to to bring back your questions and concerns at the next Caddo Parish Commissioners meeting. Thank you.
Commissioner Cox?
Thank you, ma'am. I had a request to the administration. I'd like to have Mr. Dick Bremer come to us before us in August and give us an update on the railroad crossing at Campus Industrial Parkway. I know of 2 companies that they are working on and another company that's wanting some clarification. And this is in Mr. Epperson's district and my district. And last time we heard that basically the railroad was approved, but then it was on the railroad's time frame.
Yes.
Well, I'd like to know when that time frame is, because we are losing jobs as long as they don't come back with a definitive date. And if at all possible, send some questionnaire out to Foster Campbell. And my indication that he has the authority to question their guidelines now, as far as getting something like this open. So if Mr. Bremer and, well, I've asked this before, this body and Mr. Campbell to come before us. I've asked, I think, 3 times. I ain't seen him here yet. Seen him out and about. But if he can come and give us an update, that'd be great too. But there's companies that I can tell you right now that are looking at this industrial park to open up, to build, and they're not going to do it until that road and that railroad crossing is done. Linwood, the city's putting in those pipes. Where'd Robert go? Robert stepped outside.
Yes, sir, you got a question?
I've got some constituents out there that are asking, they've laid these water lines out there. I went out to a couple of the residents where the work is being done by a contractor through the city. Did you hear me talking about you?
Hey, Robert, why don't you come up?
The city water lines are being put out all over the city and outside, right outside the city limits. On Linwood, we've had some problems at Linwood and Mars.
Correct.
And you know, there were some flooding problems out there to begin with. Now I'm getting complaints, and I went out there and looked at them, where they're just throwing the dirt back down and not leveling it back out to the natural grain of where it was.
Right.
So flooding's going to happen again. And I'm not. The city came out there one day and met me, met with the residents. We need to find out who's doing the work and who's going to be the last call as far as are they done yet. Because if the constituents aren't happy, that means they ain't done.
Right.
But this is a city project.
We already know who the contractor is from your prior, meeting them out there, and we had already talked about it with the city, and we know who the contractor is, and I mean, ultimately it'd be his responsibility if anything comes back on him, because this is the way their contract reads with the city. I mean, they're responsible for any work done, actual work done, and if they don't do it right, it'd be their problem.
So do we complain to the city or to the contractor?
I would complain to the city and let them, it's their contractor.
Because just picture the fence, and the guy's normal grade is here. They're building on the other side of the fence a foot above. Now, that ain't gonna work.
Right.
So
if you'll give me the information, I'll pass it along to their engineering department.
Okay.
And they should act on it.
Okay. Thanks, sir. And last, I'm getting some complaints about some of our parks being vandalized. What are we doing as far as rotating police officers or our parks and recreation employees, or how are we doing this? Because I got a call Sunday from a lady saying I tried to enjoy the park and there were some things on a slide and things out there that was not very nice.
Right, we have been having vandalism issues, and I have contacted the sheriff's substation and advised them of it, and they have increased their patrols through some of the parks that are being affected. We had another incident this weekend, and we actually did a incident report where they did some damage to a wall in one of our restrooms. But, other than that, trying to beef up enforcement, and our crews know which parks are having the biggest problems, and we try to go through them every time we're in that area. to pass through and check them for problems.
Is it what I was described as, it was vandalism, it's not tearing up the equipment.
Right, we had the other as well, and we clean them down as soon as we're advised of it and know about it. And like I said, we're passing through on a regular basis looking for those kinds of problems. What I honestly think it is, I mean, I don't want to speculate, but I think we've angered some people on some other issues of enforcement, and I think they're just taking it out that way.
Well, let's find them and put them in jail. And
That's what we're trying. And whenever someone is caught vandalizing a park and I'm contacted by the sheriff's office, my response is, we want to prosecute to the full extent of the law. I don't want to know who it is or anything about them, but we want to prosecute.
Because the way I look at it is taxpayers pay their money for these parks, and when they go out there and they can't use them, that's not right.
I agree.
So our job is to work with the sheriff, work with our employees, and if our employees see somebody doing something they ain't supposed to do, I mean, do they go up to them and say?
No, they have been instructed to call the law enforcement. I do not want our employees interacting with the public in that type of a situation, because there are too many things that could happen. They're advised to immediately advise law enforcement and to call me, and then we'll do what we need to do.
Okay. All right. Thanks, sir.
Okay.
Thanks, Madam President.
Thank you.
You want him at the work session?
Honey, I have no cards here for anyone to speak. Ms. Ashley Hadwin is going to come at our second meeting in August, so.
I'm going to do it first. I'm
going to
have a personal number. Okay, that moves us into public hearing on ordinances.
And what date?
And I don't see any members of the public here. Ordinance 4898.
August 3rd.
Declares adjudicated property to be surplus.
So moved. Is there anyone here to speak in favor of this ordinance? Is there anyone here to speak in opposition? Next item.
Ordinance 4899 authorizes the administrator to execute an intergovernmental agreement with the town of Ida concerning recreational services.
Is there anyone here to speak in favor of this ordinance? Anyone here to speak in opposition? Next item, please.
Ordinance 4900 rescinds the donation of a 12-acre tract of land from High Performance Motorsports, LLC, as authorized by Ordinance 3961.
Okay. Is there anyone here to speak in favor of this ordinance? Anyone here to speak in opposition? Next item.
That concludes your work session. your public hearing. Work session minutes would be next if there were any, but yesterday wasn't long ago. Now we move back to the regular ordinances for final passage. First one is 4898, sells adjudicated property.
So moved. Moved by Commissioner McCullough, second by Commissioner Baker. Any discussion? Please vote. That passes. Next.
Ordinance 4899 executes an agreement with Ida concerning recreational services.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Smith, second by Commissioner Cox. Any discussion? Please vote.
No.
That passes. Next item.
Ordinance 4900 rescinds the donation of a 12-acre tract of land.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Cox, second by Commissioner Smith. Any discussion? Commissioner Epperson?
Ms. Frazier, would you elaborate a little on this for me?
And then, can you tell me again which ordinance, Commissioner?
4900.
Basically, Commissioner, this is the, I believe this was donated several years ago, contingent upon an act that never happened. So now we've got to go back and basically give this person their property back.
That's at the racetrack. The racetrack in Gillum.
You've,
yes.
Okay, so we're going to, okay, the 12 acres was donated to the parish?
That's correct.
And
Do a project.
To do a project. The parish never completed the project, which was, the donation was contingent upon.
Steve?
Robert's got it.
Oh.
This was part of the Performance Motorsports, which is the speedway up around Gillum, and they had been promised some money from the state, and part of because it's a flow-through deal, required by the state that the parish take possession of the property, and which we did, and then the money never came through. We never did any work out there, and it's just been, it was never rescinded in the past, and now they're asking for their property back. That's the history of the deal. It's quite a few years ago.
Commissioner Escaday?
Never mind. I'm good.
Please vote. That passes. Next item.
Yes, ordinances for introduction by title. Ordinance 4901 provides for the incurring of debt and issuance of $10 million of general obligation bonds for the parish. And ordinance 4902 amends your general fund budget to retain consultants to help acquire stimulus funds through the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act of 2009, and this is in the amount of $25,000. Next is resolutions. Resolution number 36 authorizes the administrator to ask the State Department of Natural Resources to lease certain mineral interest owned by the parish as requested by Classic Petroleum. Motion.
So moved.
Second. Moved by Commissioner McCullough, second by Commissioner Baker. Any discussion? Please vote. It passes. Next item.
No old business on the agenda. New business is confirmed travel for commissioners to attend the LPJBC Annual Environment Summer Center.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Jenkins, second by Commissioner Escaday. Any discussion? Please vote. Okay, that passes. Let me just do one thing before we adjourn. Are there any other, if I get my screen back, on the handout that we had from Pine Hill Waterworks, and I know there were several commissioners that indicated that we needed to take a closer look at what was happening with that board and a lot of the complaints that we've gotten, I know at least over the last 6 years that I've been here. I'm going to refer the matter to the executive committee of the commission, along with Commissioner McCullough, to look more closely at the information and complaints and whatnot that we've gotten, correspondence that we've gotten over the years on it. So I just wanted to let everybody know that. No other commissioners?
I have something.
I'm sorry, Commissioner McCullough.
In response to that, I noticed you mentioned over the past 6 years there's been some problems with the board. That's not so in reference to rates.
Oh, no, I'm not saying rates. I'm saying just people coming down, Commissioner McCullough. Just people coming down periodically.
Okay, but it wasn't regarding rates.
No,
This is the first time the issue of rates have come to this body. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second. A motion to adjourn.
Any other kind?